Hello and welcome to Electricast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard here with Josh Olswich. Josh, how you doing?
Big boy.
Oh. Sorry, I said that again.
Big boy Brian, how are you?
I'm doing well. I couldn't quite catch the big boy Brian bit. It clipped a little bit, but that's okay. Is that a fat joke or?
No, it's just I don't know, you land or whatever. I don't know. I don't know where it was in my head. Definitely not a fat joke. So I apologize to
it
you.
It can be a fat joke.
The audience. My family.
Love fat people. Thanks everybody for being here for another day of Chopcast. We go down, we go up, and we end up back at the same place again.
They're back again. Satoshi's tail.
Yeah, yesterday was exciting for like, I don't know, what, 12 hours? And then
I don't even know what to think.
Fading back. What do we think? Tell me what you think.
I don't know what happened yesterday. I don't know why we stopped where we stopped. I thought for sure we'd go down. I'm glad I wasn't short because I would have been super, super annoyed. I don't know if there was a mini short squeeze, if people were unwinding hedges. I have no idea because Legacy was even up like 5 or 6% yesterday. Just makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
If anybody has no idea what we're talking about, it's because of CPI was released yesterday for the month prior, and it showed that CPI was unchanged, aka inflation core, which is, the way they measure all this stuff is so archaic and nonsense, but they sort of break it down into different categories and excluding certain things. TLDR is it's not where the Fed likely wants it to be. It likely means continuous rate hikes until this thing gets under control. And there's no reason to be optimistic as far as risk assets are concerned. That's why it doesn't make any sense.
And yet yesterday's candle was wild because
it was like the second largest trading range this year was yesterday. Wow. I saw a stat on that. In Legacy, sorry, specifically.
So this is when CPI came out. We're actually right back to that level right now, which is funny enough. The 1 minute, not even the 5 minute, that immediately dumped multiple percent, and then retraced all of that, grinded higher, and then today down another 1.5%. I mean, this is just tremendously painful for anybody involved, pretty much. If anybody's doing that on low time frames, but yesterday had the potential to set a reversal. Maybe this is the perfect entry for that. You're just backfilling the candle a little bit before you continue to have some upside.
But like, who's buying here? Why are they buying here? Why would anybody buy here? Like, none of it. There's no good answers to any of those questions.
Well, I've got one of those good answers right here on my screen right now. I'll put it on SPX instead of the SPY. This is a breach and reclaim of the 200-week moving average perfectly on the S&P. That is the only thing I find interesting about this market. Everything else is trash.
There was somebody who mentioned that the bounce was based on technicals. Maybe it was based on that, something like that, a variety of something like that. Everybody's laying off everybody in every business that I've seen, every headline. What was it? Intel laid off like 20,000 people or something. Maybe it's not 20,000, 20% of their workforce.
I wonder if some of that's just companies that got fat and lazy.
It for sure is.
Making fat problems again. Gosh.
It for sure is. But at the same time, those aren't like good news headlines, It's not. Those aren't growth headlines.
It's not things you do when it's frothy. It's things you do when you have an excuse to buckle down, though, and anyway,
My point is the fundamentals are still completely wrecked.
Why the fundamentals. Yeah, all that. I agree with all of that. There's nothing to love except for the fact that it's long-term mean reversion, and historically, it's an okay place to be. Now, if you get into monthly views and things like that, it looks like this is maybe a short-term bounce opportunity with long-term problems. One other line to highlight there, just this monthly support from August 2020, pretty clean. Not quite though to the pre-COVID highs, which would be a more natural place to stop. But just throwing out a few things here.
Well, Andrew in the chat mentions DCA either way, and DCAers are going to be the all-stars down the road for sure. Even if you're DCAing like bi-weekly, like paycheck DCA, like $200 a week, whatever you can afford,
who cares?
whatever.
Go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Great time for it
in any market at this point, right?
I have told
not financial advice, but
yeah, since the first big breakdown, like the capitulatory breakdown from 3AC, that was when I finally messaged a couple of people who'd been asking me, and I was like, hey, if you DCA for 2 years, I think you'll be happy in 5. Like, that's basically my only strategy, my only non-official financial advice to anyone that's asked me previously. And honestly, it's going to be my own strategy, I think. My crypto exposure is not what I want it to be, but that would be my path to getting it to where I want it to be over the long term, and just being satisfied with the price.
It's just an incredibly difficult trading environment right now for anybody who's actively trading this.
Yeah, my big issue is just this dollar strength and what's going to stop it, because the fundamentals behind this don't support the top that it looks like technically.
Yeah, that's another thing that we've sort of talked about for weeks, that just technicals look toppy on DXY.
Yeah.
But
that's what everything's correlated to. You might as well not trade anything but this chart. Like, it's just a ridiculous chart. But
there won't be any relief in anything until that thing settles down, at the very least. Even if it's indirectly correlated with DXY.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw this, but like UK bonds, the gilts. I learned that somebody on another podcast expressed why they're called gilts. I think it was Animal Spirits. Do you know why they're called gilts?
I don't.
Because the old school paper distribution of those bonds had gilted edges, like the gold foil edges on the certificates.
Oh, see, I thought it was like an acronym for something.
That's why they called them gilts.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like Publishers Clearinghouse type thing,
I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
If anybody's old enough to know what that is in the chat. Yeah, and there's the BOE said they're gonna halt their bond purchases today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that's already they said Friday. I don't know what time it is in the UK right now, but they were sort of supporting their own market. The problem with bonds is there's too many sellers and not enough buyers, right? So I saw a stat today. The 60-40 portfolio has had its worst performance this year in the past 100 years.
Yeah. Yep.
It is, so where do you go? What do you do, right?
Well, it doesn't look like you go to precious metals. They all look like trash.
I mean, that's all these charts just look really bad. Another great chart I saw today from the Fidelity analyst, I forget his name. It's like Timmer or something, I think. And basically QE versus global indices, and it's it's hyper correlated now, which just tells you that these financial markets aren't really capitalism or a buyer finding a seller. It's more or less like the Fed or the global heads of these banks just sort of making the market up and down.
Yep.
That was a good chart. What was that one? ENS?
That was ENS, which it makes me sad.
Timmer? No.
It makes me sad because it was actually my favorite trade idea of the past couple months that I didn't actually follow through on. I was looking at it in this consolidation.
Well, there's a few things I like about that chart, as well as the fundamentals of ENS, but there's tons of inverted head and shoulder fractals on that.
Yep.
And that whole thing is a massive inverted head and shoulder fractal. But
I honestly think you could still, like, the break above 20 back to 40 is a nice potential long-term play.
Let's not get that excited, but
I'm just saying, maybe, if you get a tailwind.
Sure. I was going to say the registrations for those are
banging,
just continually pushing monthly highs, which is interesting.
Yep. I registered a new ENS yesterday.
Wow.
My last name .eth. Not actually my last name. It was Krogsgard.
Oh, okay. My last name .eth would be funny.
Checking it right now. Going to ENS domains, search. Literally, I'm doing it.
No, but I like the ENS stuff because it turns addresses into like a human readable and rememberable address. It's obviously terrible for like privacy purposes and all sorts of other reasons, but it's still like a great idea for like Joe Public. You know, it's a digestible concept that people know in Web 2, I guess you could say.
I'm extremely bullish on ENS. I also have some very, in my opinion, valuable ENS domains, and I actually explored because it was popping off so much. I was like, "Hey, what's the market look like for high quality ENS?" And I had some people DM me, and I talked to them. And man, did I get some lowball thoughts! Like
You're in a bear
even
market. You don't sell those in a bear market. Come
you
on.
sell them from an ETH relative basis. I think you could. Like if you have a great ENS domain that you could sell for 100 ETH or something, 100 ETH is a lot of money at ETH $10,000. But if you can get it at ETH $1,300, it's not a big tax hit. Just denominate in ETH, sell ETH relative, and be fine.
It ain't much, but it's an honest wage.
That's big brain thinking right there, Josh.
I guess
Of course,
so.
for things that I thought might be worth 100 ETH, the market.
But I'm saying, who's going to buy it? Who's the buyer? Who's the other side of that trade?
Right. Oh, I think there's some out there. I mean, the dumb stuff is actually doing pretty well. Like the 10K club for triple digit ENS. Have you seen those?
Yeah, so those again, it's like all other NFTs.
642.eth. The floor for those is pretty high. I think it's 30 ETH or something like that.
But if you look at all of the high performing NFTs, like the sought after stuff is doing fine.
But that's a stupid sought after stuff. Like,
no, but it doesn't matter. I could argue it's all stupid. Like, what does it matter, right?
I'm a big fan of dictionary words, I guess is my point. Big fan of dictionary words. So
my point is all of the NFTs, not the floor stuff, not the stuff in the middle, but like the actual premier, cream of the crop, might be down significantly, but it's doing better than the rest of the group, on a relative basis.
Yep, I agree.
Just because you're looking at ETH, I was looking at the burns over the past week. It's up slightly. Again, that's the single most important chart that anybody should be paying attention to.
Well, there was somebody called it a Ponzi. I'm not here to confirm or deny, but it was one of those. No, a token that was helping cause ETH to burn.
Oh, okay.
It was some token, and it had like a big locking mechanism, and here's what your 10-year from now tokens are worth. You're a millionaire from your $5,000 buy, that kind of thing.
Of course, yeah.
But the ETH still kind of looks like 2015 BTC to me. Based on looking at the weekly moving average type stuff, I could see a world.
I don't think so at all. I think it needs another 250 days. If it's flat for another 250 days, maybe.
Yeah. But like grind along like this.
Right.
It's like it's in the first half of this.
Okay, sure. I'm not going to fight that. Yeah, I mean, it's early. It's early everywhere you look.
Objectively true.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if we can flatten out like we sort of are and have been, the longer the better. The longer we just like brush off all this nonsense everywhere with macro and the Fed. If we start buying every dip for the next 6 months, yeah, we have a chance. But I'm not in that camp yet. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I certainly, when I look at Bitcoin in particular, it looks more like 6K all over again.
Because if you're being honest about that Bitcoin chart, like 12 easy, right?
Yeah, it looks
like
if anything,
right if anything, that could be a descending triangle or something. Like,
yep.
That's why I'm shocked it held that level at 18. I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. I don't want it to go to 12, but that's what it looks like it wants to do.
My gut, like, if Bitcoin pierced 10K, it's turbo bottom. Like, somebody brags about their sub 10K Bitcoin fill, never below 10K again, stand in front of a freight train, because like at that point China banned Bitcoin again and like everything else, right? Like the America's banning Bitcoin by that. global recession, liquidity crisis, blah, 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 blah. And sub 10K Bitcoin is comfy. And at that point, obviously 1300 ETH is not holding either. But
no,
anyway.
I mean, if we're going to 12 on BTC, ETH is going to 800 probably.
Yeah, sweep the lows.
Yeah. Because all the trend metrics, all bearish, everything across the board.
Yeah.
There's not a single thing, not a single cross, a single MA. Nothing's going to help you here that says, yeah, we look good. If anything, the Bollinger Bands on the weekly for BTC look like we're brewing that push to 12 here over the next couple of weeks.
Or the squeeze. Emmanuel in the chat says, all your bearishness turns me bullish. And then in parentheses, at least short term. And that's the problem. Like, it's really hard to look at the fundamentals and be very bullish beyond something squeezy. I think you can get a 20, 30, 40, 50% move imminently to the upside. But you need the economy and the broader market and the Dixie to all calm down and tell you more obviously that it's a buying opportunity. And then we just don't have proof in the market. I'm not trying to be bearish. I'm not trying to be bearish at all. Just you need the market to show it.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine long term. But in this cycle currently where we sit, things need to calm down. You know, if Dixie calmed down, if Russia, Ukraine calmed down, if we took our hand off the nuke button a little bit, if the Fed pivoted, which is not going to happen in a million years and a million timelines. But
I will say, being bearish because you're afraid of nuclear war is stupid. Because if we have nuclear war, it's the last of your worries what your coins are doing. You know, like it's all over at that point. That's, you know, what was that movie that came out on Netflix? Just Look Up or something like that.
Yeah.
Like why bother? You just have dinner with your family, enjoy your last moments on Earth, and go out with a bang.
It's like the guy. I don't even know if I should bring this up, but wasn't there a guy in the Twin Towers who was shorting airlines as they
while he was in the towers?
Yeah.
No, I did not know that.
It could be like folklore, I don't know, but it's kind of like the same type of thing. Like, you know, like your priorities are a bit skewed.
I'm gonna short Bitcoin because a nuke dropped. What?
I think the market will react to that, you know.
Well, yeah.
Obviously,
and also
it's the last of
all
your
the
worries,
other
as you're
nukes.
saying. But look, yeah, I mean, it's not great.
Absurd. It's so absurd.
You have the Bollinger Band up now, and on the weekly, the reason why this is bearish is because we're below that 20 SMA. I don't have the colors on here, but the squeeze is about as tight as it was kind of historically where we get these moves. It's getting there. I don't have BB Bollinger Band width on there either, but anyway, point is something's brewing.
A couple years, hasn't it?
Let me just add this real quick. Hold on. A couple years, but Build a Bear Workshop. Well, I didn't even know they were publicly traded. Build a Bear. Bandwidth. You can look at this if you're playing the home game, and we can sort of see where we are on a squeeze level. So we had a similar squeeze before the breakdown in April. Prior to that, it was the break
2020.
A break up in 2020. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's got a little ways to go.
It's getting
I think in 2 to 3 weeks, we will know if we're going to 12 or not.
I mean, look at that one in September 2019. That's just ridiculous.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Well, that's the alternative side to this is if we get back above that 20 week, right? If we just sort of crush our way into it, which is, I'm not ruling that out, you know, but I'll believe it when I see it. But if I had to make a trade today in this moment, it would be short based on how this sits.
Both at 6K and 4K, just huge squeezes of low volatility. And you see all those green candles now on that 4K one, but I swear you and I were some of the only people that were bullish in the entire market at that time.
Oh, over here? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember that very well. Yes, we were one of the few who were bullish there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't look good across the board anywhere you look. Unfortunately.
Josh, a guest,
Brian.
Asim, said, "Is the Ichimoku part over?" So the audience demands a little cloud analysis.
Oh yeah, no, we can talk about the cloud.
Oof. Get through that. Look at that twist up there, huh? 2023 magnet?
Yeah, like I said earlier, there's nothing that's going to help you from a bullish perspective, because you could say, well, this is a TKC clamp. There's a disequilibrium here. And I'd say, sure, but look at what happened in 2018 and how long this took to sort of get back even to the cloud. So
I'm almost certain in 2018 I also talked about that twist in the cloud with you before the breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, these things on a chart, they might not look like they're that big of a deal, and it's hard to like remember this stuff week over week. But no, it's 100%. The checklist is we're below the cloud. Okay, we're bearish. We're bearish twist. We're bearish. Bearish TK cross. We're bearish. You know, there's nothing else to really say.
That says short big bounces, is what that says.
It says expect down over up for sure. So yes, it says look for shorts, not look for long. On the daily, it's pretty messy-ish, but at the same time, it's also fairly clear that this is bearish. There's no bullishness here at all.
And it really is telling you get over 22, 23, something like that before you would even begin to change your mind.
Yeah, the reason 22 is also, sorry, let me find a different chart here. 22 is the 200 week, right? Oh, maybe it's higher. We've also never had a 200 day and 200 week cross ever. So yeah, that'll be fun and bearish. But the good news is everything is like so bearish, like the daily cloud, right? It's so bearish that the moment we get back above this thing, you can say with reasonable certainty that we have a shot here, you know?
You're saying there's a chance.
That's why I like this congested area of like 22 to 24. Maybe we Adam and Eve. That's the bullish case here is we Adam and Eve to 24, and then we break out to 30. That's the bullish case.
Yeah.
And then ETH.
Probably not really going to have good shots at that stuff until 2023, though, honestly. I mean, it's October 14th, y'all. We have 75 days left this year, something like that. 77?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Not a lot.
We don't have a lot of time to get moving here if we're going to get moving. And then ETH, you could argue bear flag, rising wedge. I don't know, whatever, call it something. It's still in this channel. You know, we've been in this channel for months now. So I just don't have anything. I don't like that ETH is just like cliffing on all these levels. It's cliffing on the pivot, the 200 week, previous all-time high.
Do you remember the 2018 bottom in December, New Year, Christmas Eve?
For ETH?
In stocks.
Oh, stocks. Oh, yeah, I do.
I would love to see something like that if we're going to go down. Like just get it on low liquidity where you feel like this holiday, end of year, seasonal components are involved, that kind of thing.
The Santa rally?
That's not Santa. That's a Santa dump fest. It's an inverse Santa rally. It just seems right, doesn't it? Everybody was looking for Q4 resolution. And in this scenario, it's like Q4 downwards euphoria, like pure panic.
Downtober,
down December.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just not. We're too correlated to legacy, and legacy is too bearish. So until we decouple significantly, it's hard to imagine we do anything bullish anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be overly bearish. I know I'm goofing around a little bit, but it's not a good yearly. For what it's worth.
Yearly? Who looks at the yearly
on the S&P?
Oh, I mean, that thing is just. It's just so over. for all that, all the free money era, the low cost of capital era.
There's still a lot of repricing happening.
Yeah.
A lot of, multiplier adjustments where that's another thing I heard on a podcast where it was like, oh, if you like this stock as a value at 15-1, you'll love it at 5-1. But we haven't had the earnings component go down, right? Like for the most part, expectations are going down, multiples are going down, but the earnings themselves have still been all right. Maybe not according to expectations, but certainly there's profitability and all that. What if your earnings go down and your multiples go down, and just that's your depth of the recession type of stuff. I still think there's massive displacement in the market. Pricing's high. I'm not sure if earnings are still really high. Like, is profitability still really good? In my own life, some of the things that I look at, things look very expensive. But like price sensitivity seems to be kicking in a little more. I'm making stuff up, just totally anecdotal.
Yeah, I mean, hasn't really relaxed at all. So,
yeah.
Fortunately, the Fed needs to take rates to the level of inflation. That's the reality. And that's 2x from here as far as rates are concerned, right?
Yeah, I think they should just be doing it slower. I think the chances of soft landing when 75 basis point increases at a time is a little tough. But if you taper to 50 to 25, like you're still having an impact, and it may take longer, it may take multiple years, but I think you can accomplish the goal still.
Well, is that acceptable within their dual mandate, Brian?
I don't know, man. I'm just saying, if I was the Fed chair, I'd be tapering. Somebody asked if I have a Shopify position. No, I don't. It looks pretty bad on the quarterly chart there.
That's the other thing about crypto charts is like they haven't retraced to their COVID levels, and a lot of these NASDAQ components have,
Yeah.
So it could always be worse. As bad as this is, it could always be worse. Meta, PayPal. What did you think of that PayPal news?
It's not great. They
look up that chart.
I mean, it looks like some lawyer got out over their skis.
This chart is just tragically bad.
That's a really, really bad one. One that looks really bad to me that's not broken down?
Hit me with it.
Tesla. We talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago. It is now like, this is a Peter Brandt special here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if I squint, that's definitely head and shoulders.
I really think Tesla has a lot of downside potential.
I'm not saying I want Elon to lose. I think the most entertaining path would be a Tesla stock just crumbling, but I don't necessarily want ill will on anyone.
No, I don't either. I just, from a chart perspective, it looks like a last bastion of quasi holding together. Now, I say that it's probably down, 50% off the highs, but I think it's a stock that could go 70-80% off the highs easily.
Yeah, level 2 data in the chat has the right train of thought with NASDAQ is currently at the July 2020 lows, which is equivalent to BTC being at 8.8K and ETH at 220. Imagine ETH sub 500. That's another thing I don't want to happen, but I would love to see the meth head maxi tiers is ETH just crumbling after the halvening or triple halvening or whatever.
I don't think it's going to happen though.
I know, but just imagine the entertainment value. Just like they built this thing up for years. Like, we're going to do this thing. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so bullish. And then just nothing comes out of it. Now, eventually something will come out of it. They will win at the end of the day, but not anytime soon.
For Tesla to get to pre-COVID levels, it'd have to go down 85% off the top at least, which is, even from the current price, that's another 70%. That's a nice trade.
Yikes. Another thing with ETH I saw today was the OFAC compliant blocks surpassed 51% because of MEV boost, which in my head I associate with ASIC boost, in that it's just a better way to validate blocks. From a profitability perspective, it's terrible for the chain, but if you're a validator, you're dumb for not using that process, right? It incentivizes you to become OFAC compliant, I guess, is another way of thinking about it, right?
Let's see. What's OFAC?
What's OFAC?
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on it? The Office of Comptroller something. Come on, chat. Office of Foreign Assets Control.
Assets control.
It's a way to censor the chain.
Yeah. And the proof of stake stuff and whatnot makes that easier.
Right.
Boo. Does this look like an ETF that would have a lot of inflows to you?
I don't know if I'm legally allowed to comment on ETFs or ARK, but
all right, well, I will. ARK is getting significant inflows still, like year to date, something like billion plus, and I think in the month like 100 million or something, and that's probably nothing compared to what it was, but this is ARK looks bad. That's all I'm gonna say.
This is subreddit called Noah Get the ARK. It's like, it like highlights all the worst aspects of society in various ways, but that chart reminds me of that subreddit because that chart is looking quite rough.
I'm just rolling through a couple things.
Yes.
ETH BTC.
Yeah, the dudes who sanctioned Tornado Cash. Thank you, Devin Rose, in the chat. OFAC.
The dudes who sanctioned Tornado Cash, and shout out Coin Center suing the
that's
Treasury.
Awesome. Yes, Janet Yellen.
Yeah.
Yellen v. Niraj. Imagine that.
Love it. I'm team Niraj all day.
Yeah.
ETH BTC back to the same place it's been. There's literally nothing to say about this chart. Just it's in this crazy distribution, reaccumulation. Maybe there's something Wyckoffean in there developing. Who knows? Who cares? Just worth mentioning. We looked at ENS as a good-looking chart. Are there any other good-looking charts? Adam?
I think on a relative basis, BNB probably still looks good against everything, but
see, BNB's not even on my watch list because I don't.
Well, that's another thing. Like, do you want to trade or do you want to be right, Brian?
BNB, I don't have anywhere to buy it. Where could I buy BNB?
That's part of it, yes, but they also have centralization issues. You can buy it on Binance US.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway, that chart probably looks good against everything else because it's up. I think Matic looks pretty good against everything else. They have fundamental inflows based on what I can tell on chain as well. I'm
looking at Matic relative to BTC. It's like,
yeah, it looks great.
Highs.
It looks amazing.
Terrific.
If you look at this is what really stuck out to me this week on Matic was their active addresses are now they're past all-time highs. I don't know what's going on there. It's probably some nonsense, but if you go to Polyscan and pull up their active addresses, it's at all-time highs right now. 782,000 active addresses yesterday. I don't know why.
Good for them. Look at XRP. 200-week moving average.
How
recapture and retest.
No, that's not real.
Speaking of people who are in lawsuits, is this trying to price in some bullishness for the lawsuit?
I don't know.
That's what your
XRP. I can't trade it anywhere, right? What does it matter?
Yeah, I agree. I'm just looking at all this stuff that I haven't looked at very much. Link never did the thing that I wanted it to do. It looks like trash.
Well, Link, like ETH, and kind of like the rest of crypto stuff we haven't talked about. There's a ton of custodial announcements with institutions and banks and BNY Mellon, and there's a Google announcement with Coinbase Cloud, or Google Cloud announcement with Coinbase regarding payments. Like, there's all these little headlines that aren't going to mean anything in a bear market, but in a bull market they'll have massive effects, because we'll have this rotating closed the loop economy with crypto. We'll have better inflows, more access, that sort of thing. What were you just looking at?
I don't know. I moved on to Ape, which is a coin I'd like to short.
Well, I lost my point, but
I forget. I was already looking at how I want to short Ape.
That's fair.
I like the Ape ETH pair trade.
Speaking of lawsuits, they got sued by
that's kind of where I got to this from.
Which, isn't this a bigger issue with airdrops though? Because like, what did SEC have the issue with? I didn't read the suit, but because if like that airdrop was problematic, aren't all airdrops problematic at that point, or was it just based on owning the NFT?
I have no idea. I need to look it up.
I don't know. I need to read up on that.
I just think from a pure valuation perspective, Ape is still really high, and it feels like a relatively comfy thing.
Well, speaking of ARK and SMA products or indice products, they have Ape in one of their products, and that's just funny to me. Could you imagine going to an institution and like trying to sell Ape coin?
No.
Like being convicted about it? Like,
that's partly why it feels comfy for me to just, if I was going to short something, just be short Ape all the time.
See, no, Cardano looks like ADA USD. That looks like how you'd expect BTC to look, how anything breaking in support. That's exactly how you expect it to look.
Like 2-3 weeks from now, this is what Bitcoin would start like. But this is a really pretty breakdown. That's like pure consolidation. Ugly. Charles Hoskinson tweets something stupid. Oh, sorry, chat can't see it. There. Love that stage of the market we're in every week now, where you gotta move your heads.
That looks like somebody who's unloading.
Somebody's
like
got
fee whapping out or something. Unlocks. There you go. Yeah.
Panic selling the unlock.
I don't know about panic, but just like, all right, we've had enough. Let's just get rid of this thing. That's what that looks like to me.
AVAX looks like it's ready to follow.
Yeah, anything at lows is at risk for breaking them. I mean, I don't know if you can you see my screen? No, you can't.
I'm pulling it up. I just think that you're stuck on Twitter. I'm just gonna take you off. Tell me where to go.
I'll send you the link. Hopefully nobody can hear that in the background, but I'm sure you can.
I can.
Because I want to end on a good note here, and just if it's a Ponzi scheme or something that's doing this, just don't tell me. Just let me have happy thoughts, right?
Okay.
It's the
the Polyscan thing. Holy cow!
Polygon's active addresses.
Yeah, hold on. I gotta reshare my screen from a different, because I didn't have the window. There we go.
No, again, I'm sure this is complete nonsense, but it looks great, right?
It does. Looks terrific.
I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is. If you look at transactions, they aren't up as significantly, certainly. So
it's just a Sybil attack. Don't worry.
It could be at this point. Who knows? I don't know what's going on there. But
new token fork economics airdrop. Blah blah blah. I have no idea.
Algernon, Flowers for Algernon asks, why do people still look at active addresses? That's not his actual name, but because for me, it's a way to just simplify utility. Active addresses and transactions. People need valuation metrics, and that's one place you can look. You can say, okay, is anybody actually doing anything with this stuff and using it? You go to the source, go to the chain, right? Go to active addresses and transactions, see what's going on. So it is important, especially to like institutional players who need fundamental reasoning and rationale to get into this stuff.
I like it okay on a weekly chart. I don't really like it on the daily. I don't know. I have a hard time trading these. This reminds me of the way BNB has been in previous markets, which has performed well. It's just like when it's hovering in no man's land.
Well, it looks like a falling wedge a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it just looks like if the market turns down, this has the most room to fall. Like 30% in one day type of move versus, only 10% in one day on your other garbage coins. I have very low tolerance right now for non-majors.
No, that's fair. I don't know. It looks better than everything else, though. It's not at its lows at the very least.
Yeah, I can't argue with you there.
Flowers for Algernon asks or comments that they're easily spoofed on-chain stuff. Oh, I agree 100%. There's a massive observer effect. If people know you're looking at this stuff for valuation, they will pump it on purpose, right? We saw this with multiple chains historically, and we continue to see that. So I'm right there with you, which is why it's important to investigate what's happening when you see numbers like that. Like, why is that at all-time highs?
How do you analyze sushi with your fundamental analysis hat?
Sushi with the
Yeah.
horse stuff.
Yeah. It dumped for a couple days from horse news.
The funny thing about sushi is, like, months and months ago, they were talking about treasury diversification. They had some governance proposal. And anytime this comes up with any project, the smart thing to do always is to just sell everything to cash. Okay. That's the smart thing. It doesn't send a great message to the people holding the coin, obviously.
Yeah.
But the smart thing to do is always to sell everything to cash. And I'm sure the treasury is down 80% from when they had this governance proposal.
The weekly chart looks really good to me.
I don't know. The sushi's existence to me is flimsy, so I have a hard time wanting to buy stuff like that.
Uniswap looks reasonable as well. They just raised money.
Yeah, I was going to say,
$1.6 billion valuation on the Uniswap Labs. How that references a token, I have no idea, man.
Yeah, probably doesn't. That's another interesting thing. All these, like, labs and trusts or whoever they are raising money, yet still having coins that they're selling.
Yeah.
And it's not a security, by the way, according to them. I don't know. It's all just silly.
ENS is by far the best looking chart in the ecosystem, and that's actually deserved. It's the best looking protocol in the ecosystem as well.
Well, it's got utility that you can measure, right? This goes back to the on-chain active address stuff. Like, sure, it might all be nonsense, but people are using it. Definitely. It has undeniable actual utility that people are using. You may not agree with a privacy component or whatever, but people are using it, right?
Yeah. I don't really have intentions of doing very much until this chooses a direction. Do you have any difference in that opinion?
No, I mean, I agree. I think you're either waiting for 12 to 14 or you're just doing nothing.
Yeah. I would actually really love to risk on in some of these performers. Like, I'd love to buy ENS.
Well, I don't know what the token does. So again, it's like, it has great utility, but what does the token do? Why is the token rising in value?
Who cares? I'd rather.
Hey, that's fair. It's crypto.
If the fundamental protocol has value, I'll just. I do think the market will still give the benefit of the doubt to the token having eventual value accrual as well, even if that's incorrect. Like, Uniswap's a safer bet than
that's the assumption.
a lesser on-chain swapping protocol.
Speaking of Uniswap or Link or any of these other, like, obvious huge utility players in the ecosystem, that doesn't, like, wrap into value accrual, though. That's the issue.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to leave that for another discussion.
Okay.
I really would love to see a dollar top. I don't know when it'll happen. Maybe it's happening right now. I hate this fade that we're getting today on the back of a potential reversal day. Maybe we see follow through on the new week.
But that's expected, right? Again, nothing's changed fundamentally. The Fed's still going to raise rates. Inflation's still 40-year high. Nothing's changed,
It's just a matter whether we start to price in future changes. Right now, I feel like sentiment is very, very bearish, but I don't know if positioning is very, very bearish. So
Yeah, I feel like sentiment in TradFi is definitely the most bearish I've ever seen it.
well, the whole thing about bonds having their worst year ever, the 60/40 portfolio having its worst year in 100 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's devastating. Like it's really bad.
Yeah.
So it's justified, and I'm bullish for 2023. I'm not sure if I'm bullish for Q4 anymore. I would feel much more comfortable if we just got the washout, get it out of your system.
See, we just need Jay to raise double rates overnight. Get the
Puke so you can
washout.
feel better later.
Revisit the COVID style.
Liquidity crisis.
Potentially going to zero in one night type thing.
Yeah,
and just get it over with.
sounds good. Let's leave it there. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Follow Josh on Twitter at Carpe Noctem. Check out Flip if you haven't played Fantasy Flip. Check it out. Flip.xyz. It's going well. We got like 2,500 people playing. Got some folks making profits. Fake profits. It's fantasy.
Right, imaginary.
It's a game. But it's a lot of fun, and you can still win every week. There's prizes every week, and then there's a grand prize for somebody that does the best. So go to flip.xyz. We got a lot of cool stuff about to launch in addition to that that's not fantasy. Catch you next time. Thanks so much. Appreciate everybody.
Very good. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight I can barely breathe.